Ooh, it is your witchy friend Grace from Small World's Big Adventures with a little Spooktober announcement before a review of the maddening game Horrified. This week we will be giving away a game from our personal collection. Speaking of winners, this week's winner is Grotesque 80. Congrats on winning Forbidden Island. The game we're giving away this week is Hako Onna, a heart-stopping game about trying to escape a haunted house. To qualify, you must live in the United States and comment on at least one video this week, October 22nd through the 28th. Then we will randomly choose a winner from the comments. Also, everyone who comments throughout the month, the 1st through the 30th, will be entered for a brand new copy of Horrified. That is the game we are reviewing today, by the way. It is a maddening cooperative board game with iconic monsters. We'll announce the winner by commenting on one of the person's comments and announce on each Sunday's video who has won. The more videos you comment on, the greater your chance to win. So let us know your thoughts on each game. Cool. Hi, I'm Gracie, and this is Scott from Small World's Big Adventures, and today we're going to be reviewing Horrified. Now, before we get into details, this is a game that we are giving away at the end of the month.
That's right.
A brand new copy of it. So listen
the end
closely.
Of October 2023. So
yes. So listen closely.
Details below.
To hear if you might be interested in winning, and if you are, anyone who comments on one of our videos this year's October will be entered to win. So,
Horrified is a game for 1 to 5 players. Plays in about 60 minutes. The cost is $30 on Amazon.
Yep.
I'm just going to say right now, buy this game.
Buy it.
Or comment down below and see if you win it. Then buy it if you don't. Setup is 10 plus minutes, as I would say.
Yeah.
The game scales. You can have more opponents. It's going to take a little longer to set up more of those.
Mm-hmm.
There are quite a few bits to the game, and that'll take a while. So it's not the longest game set up, but it'll take a little bit. The game plays out on a map of a town, and you choose 1 to 5 of these classic universal style horror monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein, the creature from the Black Lagoon, Invisible Man, and you have to stop them.
Yep.
And the game gets harder depending on how many you're going to face, and some of them are more complex / harder than others. Each character that you get to play as has a special ability, and you run around the town basically picking up tokens that count as weapons, but also get used in different ways to try and defeat the monsters. Each monster has a different way that you defeat them, so you're not doing the same thing for each different monster. And then once you start taking out the monsters, if you get all of them, you win. And the game is actually hard enough that
sometimes you don't.
It's tricky. Sometimes you don't win. So
before we start reviewing the game, we are curious, what is your favorite iconic monster or American cryptid? Because there is an American cryptids version of this game.
There's a cryptid version of the game, and there's going to be a Greek gods version of the game, which is not out yet. The cryptids version is pretty similar to this, so you can kind of take the same thing we say here, although we'll probably do a separate thing for that.
Favorite iconic monster or cryptid?
Probably Dracula.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's probably right.
So mine, I'm going to go with Mothman for the cryptids.
Okay.
Mainly because I deeply love the Ghoulie Boys, and they have created an affinity for that giant moth in my heart.
All right.
When we review games, we do it on a 5-point scale from terrible, bad, mixed, good to excellent. And to kick it off, player agency.
Agency is good. You have a decent amount of options, directions that you can go in, things that you can do. Depending on the monster that you're facing, there are different things that you can do because you need to do them in order to defeat those monsters. But it gives you a wide range of stuff. You never quite feel like you're locked into doing a specific thing. You will probably choose one of the things to do until you to complete it, because there's a number of different tasks you need to do, and that's fine. But you don't feel like, oh, I did the wrong thing this turn, and now the game is
we're lost.
We're losing.
Same. I feel the same way about that. You kind of want to talk as a team, be like, I'm going to go do this, or I intend to do that. But like, again, you could, two of you could do the same thing, or you could do vastly different things, and it's not going to like screw you over and lose for sure.
Yeah. It's not, there's a razor's edge there, but it's not as bad as some of the other hard games that we've played.
Along those lines, I think mechanics are good. The way each monster works is different. But the way like you as a player plays, so long as you're keeping that in mind, like plays out pretty well. Like you have your movement and your abilities and picking things up, and even if you
saving townspeople,
even if you kind of get taken out by the monster, you're not taken out.
You're not out of the game. It just makes the game closer to losing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's good.
I say mechanics are excellent. I cannot express how impressed I was when we got this game.
Yeah.
It's not a complex game.
No.
But in the environment that they create and the rules that they have, each monster feels very different, and how you tackle those monsters are different challenges.
Yeah.
You pick up, there are 3 colors of items you pick up, basically weapons, but they get used versus the monsters in very different ways.
Yeah.
And the game is just both fairly simple and plays very differently from game to game, and the mechanics work just really well for that. So I said excellent for mechanics.
Components wise, I said good with a leaning towards mixed. So they printed the monsters.
Yeah.
The characters are standees.
Yeah.
And so like the standee thing's always a little like back and forth for us. It's a cheaper game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you printed some of them.
Yeah.
Why not all of them?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the showcase for the game is the monsters. So they printed those, and then the characters have standees. The townsfolk also have standees, which isn't the best then, because it makes it a little harder to differentiate. Not that it's a real problem, but it's there. I said good for components.
Yeah.
And I'll stick with that. They do print the monsters, which is great. The map is colorful.
It is.
The map of the town is colorful and well done. The art on like the item cards and stuff is good. And honestly, on the standees, like the art for those are good too. But I would have liked to have seen the player characters as stuff. The villagers as standees, I think that's fine for a game. But I do think they're good.
Yeah. Theming wise, you said good.
I said good. Each monster has a different way to defeat them, and in a way, some of them have different goals that they're trying to do as well. And they did a good job of making them kind of feel like mechanics-wise correct to what the monster would be doing. A good example is Frankenstein and Frankenstein's bride are trying to meet each other, but when they do, that's a big problem. And so mechanically, it works, and as a result, the theme works real well.
I think the theming's excellent. When you think of those like iconic monster movies, you really do feel kind of like the villager has to deal with this. And then when you have more monsters, you kind of feel really screwed over as the villager, going, God damn it, who let all these out? But the artwork, as well as like how the monsters play and whatnot, I think it just themes together really well.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I don't quite go to excellent, but I agree.
Fair. Enjoyability, good.
Yeah, good. It's a fun game. I've enjoyed every game I've played. We've lost maybe half of them almost. But I've enjoyed even the ones that we've lost. It's a fun one to pull out.
Circling back to components, another issue I have.
We'll edit this into components, maybe.
I will not. Circling back to components, the trackers for the monsters are just tokens on there. They slide right off.
Yeah, I know you have an issue with that, which
I do.
I think valid. Some of that you could put at, honestly, this game's pretty cheap.
Real cheap.
Yeah, so there's that.
But beyond enjoyability, I enjoy the mix-up of monsters.
Yeah.
You know, if you play with one or two, like you're never going to have the same game twice in a row. Like there might be similar components, but having Frankenstein with the monster from the Blue Lagoon is very different than having Dracula with Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Oh, I also really like that it's cooperative without being razor edge. Like you can lose, but you're not going the whole game going the wrong move and we're done.
Right.
So like if you want to like games like Pandemic or Forbidden Island, but they're just a little too stressful for you, this is probably a good mix. And then I do not think that this is a gateway game. I think the dynamics might be a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's probably close to a gateway. It's like your first one after you got them hooked.
Yeah, you're right. I think I agree with that.
But like, while it's maybe not the first one you introduce, it's one you should break out pretty quickly after.
Especially if they like kind of those the monsters, or if you get cryptids, if they like cryptids. Yeah. My takeaways: the game is scalable.
Yeah.
It works pretty good with pretty much any level of players. Which is great. It's not a very fast game, but it is quick enough. Like you said, it's not a good gateway game, but it's a good intermediate game after that for a lot of reasons. The theming is approachable. The game isn't that complex. It plays pretty quick. It plays good with a few different types of people.
And honestly, the turns are fairly quick.
Yeah, the turns are fast. Yeah, which is something we like in a lot of games. My big takeaway, honestly, is we were given this as a present.
Yeah.
It's a licensed game, literally licensed for the Universal Studios monsters. I don't think for the movie cinematic universe they were trying to make. It was just happened to be, well, we'll just license these. And a lot of times when you get a game like that is a licensed game, it's just kind of a cheap cash in.
Yeah.
And like this game is cheap. You can get it right now for $30. I don't think I have been more surprised by a board game.
Yeah.
I had pulled out the instructions, started reading it, and like every page I turned through the instructions, I'm like, this is more and more impressive. This game will not hit like my top 10.
Fair.
But it is a fun, enjoyable game.
Yep.
The mechanics, while on the simpler side, work really well. The game scales great. You have a wide range of difficulty in that you can choose. If you play with just one monster, that game's going to be really simple. But if you're playing with somebody new to these types of games, probably the way to go. Yeah. We usually play with 2, maybe 3, and that starts getting hard. Some of the monsters are more complex and thus more hard. So you can really kind of fit a really good spot. If you want a challenge, if you want a nightmare, if you wanted a fairly simple game, you've got those options in there. Again, the components, while they're not the best, at this price point, really, really good.
Yeah.
The monsters do have plastic things, which is something we look for in components. And again, at $30, it feels like it should just be a quick cash-in junky game, and it is not. This is a game that you should have on your shelf, especially at that price point. You should purchase this and put it up there. I've enjoyed every game I've played of this. Everything works well into its theming and mechanics and the fun of the game that I don't think I could have been more surprised opening this box up and playing it.
If you like the Universal monsters, the iconic monsters of the horror genre, then you're probably going to like this game. If you like villainous, because each villain in that plays different, whereas this one, each of the monsters plays different. This might also be a vibe for you. And then Arkham Horror.
Yeah, because you're playing cooperatively. You're trying to stop these monsters from decimating the town and winning and stuff. And you got a similar thing there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this board game review, go ahead and drop a like on this video. And if you want to hear more board game reviews, gamekeeper tips, tabletop DIYs, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified the next time we upload. If there's nothing else, we'll see you next time.
Oh!
Dad.
What did they print, Moira? What did they print?
The me.